I'm not looking for a kiss and makeup counselor, but I would like to know what you're going to do now.
Did you see that? He puked.
You should see about getting some counseling.
I thought this hospital's foremost interest was in treatment of patients.
And you are?
Reba.
Reba. Reba what?
Reba, the mail lady.
Well, you're a husky young man. You ought to be out in Hollywood making those Tarzan movies.
It's fun to be able to delve in the psyche of a character. Just that challenge of finding what makes people tick.
All right, let's talk about Epatha Merkerson. Here is a bit of scoop. Her dad swears up and down that the name Epatha came from this amazing teacher who basically saved him from dropping out of school. But hold on, her mom? Oh, she's not buying it. She insists it was actually one of his old girlfriends. Yup, she's got receipts. And that's why she threw the Sharon Epatha in the mix to keep things spicy. Oh, and that mysterious S? Yeah, it was all hush-hush until some genius from my high school decided to blast it all over the internet. Thanks for that, Sherlock. But we all know her as the no-nonsense, take-no-prisoners Lieutenant Anita Van Buren from Law and Order.
We've got a 16-year-old kid boiling with rage, planning this fantastic revenge scenario, and he doesn't talk to anyone.
For 17 years, she ruled that precinct with a steely gaze and sharp tongue.
You know, I don't know what kind of downtown look you guys are going for with this stubble and all, but it's not working.
Her performance was so spot on that when she's strolling the streets of New York, actual NYPD officers can't help but approach her.
No matter where I go, there are people that loved Van Buren. And I see police officers who yell out, "Lou! Hey, Lou!" I love that.
And get this, they jokingly ask how they can transfer to her precinct. But there's so much more to her story than her iconic TV role. Buckle up, because Epatha's life is filled with drama, triumphs, and a touch of the spicy gossip we all love.
My mother is 85. She went skydiving this summer at 85. She raised us to never want for something without reaching for it. If you wanted to do something, as long as you were educated in it, you could do it. So I grew up with a lot of encouragement. It never occurred to me that anything I wanted to do, I could not do it.
Born Sharon Epatha Merkerson in Saginaw, Michigan in 1952, our queen had humble beginnings. And by humble, I mean humble. Her dad, bless his soul, walked out on the family when she was just 5. Imagine being a kid, watching your mom hold the fort with 5 children and no partner in sight. Little Sharon. She later dropped Sharon because, as she said, it just didn't feel right. Grew up in Detroit's tough streets. Now, Detroit in the 60s wasn't exactly a walk in the park. It was more like a sprint through quicksand with potholes and the occasional stray bullet.
Places Detroit is afire. 100 square blocks are now under siege. And as you walk through the area, people shout from their homes, "Watch out for the snipers."
But Epatha credits those years with making her tough. She wasn't just some shy, bookish girl either. She had spunk. Legend has it, young Epatha once told off a teacher for treating black students unfairly. Who does that at 12? Epatha Merkerson. School wasn't easy, though. Money was tight and college seemed like a pipe dream. But here's where things get juicy. Merkerson, the scrappy underdog, snagged a spot at Wayne State University, where she studied theater. That's right, Detroit's own Epatha wasn't just tough, she was talented.
I was a stage manager. And the girl that they had hired to do the lead was not very good. And so they let her go. And I said, I can do it. And I had to play an older woman. And I loved it. Being on stage and being focused and everybody's working together. You know that they've lived that moment. You know they're afraid of a moment. You can feel it. But it was that play that really sort of sent me over and made me realize, wow, I like doing this.
And you know what? Talent always finds a way. After college, she packed her bags and headed to New York City. Oh, New York in the late 70s. It was grimy, it was dangerous, and it was the perfect place for a starving artist to hustle. And hustle she did. Those early years in the Big Apple weren't glamorous. She was waiting tables, doing odd jobs, and scraping by. One time, she even worked as a receptionist for an unmentionable company that rhymes with video rentals for adults. Gasp! But through it all, she never lost sight of her dream. But guess what? She's got a resume so stacked, it's practically bursting at the seams.
Goes to Epatha Merkerson, Lackawanna Blues.
This is so amazing. I'm 53 years old. This was my first lead in a film.
Let's talk Broadway. This queen snagged Drama Desk and Tony Award nominations for Best Actress thanks to her jaw-dropping performance in 1995's The Piano Lesson.
Where you get the truck from, Lammy?
I bought it.
Where he get that truck from, boy, Willie?
He told you he bought it. He bought it for $120.
And if that wasn't enough, she took home an Obie Award in 1992. By 1998, she was shining brighter than ever, scooping up the Helen Hayes Award for her captivating lead performance in The Old Settler at the Studio Theater in Washington, D.C. Legends only, right? But hold on, Broadway fans. She didn't just stick to the stage. Her first dip into TV was a guest starring gig on none other than The Cosby Show back in 1984.
Emergency. What happened? His cousin came up with 2 tickets for tonight's Knicks game.
Dr. C, he was just very open and funny. I did that episode. Angela Bassett was in that episode as well, with big hair. I just remember having big hair. She'd laugh at me if she heard me say that. But it was just a lot of fun. You know, it was, again, around the first, in that first group of shows I did for television. And it was great. It was great fun.
And if you thought that was cool, get this. Her first regular TV role had her bringing all the charm as Reba the Mailwoman on Pee-wee's Playhouse in 1986.
Oh, Dr. Pee-wee, I don't know how to thank you.
I have just the way you can thank me, Reba. Pay my bill.
Were lessons for children to learn, whether it was geography or history, and he had this great knack for finding these crazy cartoons. And then there was the word of the day, where you could just be silly and say the word and try to figure out a way to put the word in a sentence. And, you know, the screaming was just a part of just release and being and having a fun moment. But I think that the response that I always got from parents at the time the show was airing, you know, my children watched the show. I realized it was more of the parents that were watching the show than it was the children, really.
Reba delivering mail.
You expect me to believe that the two of you were inside that cute little magic screen?
More like delivering star power. Here is how it really got started. Epatha's big break came in 1986 when she landed a role in The Piano Lesson on Broadway. Sidebar, have you ever tried performing August Wilson? It's like Shakespeare, but with more soul and a lot more yelling.
Otherwise, you all can go back out there and be with nobody, don't have to ask you nothing.
And she nailed it. That performance caught the attention of TV producers, and the rest, as they say, is history.
I had an agent who said, look, you've been out on the road. I've been doing a lot of theater out on the road. And he said, you know, take this thing. It's not going to last a year. I had no idea that the character or the show would last that long. The show did 20 seasons and I did 16 of the 20.
She joined the cast in 1993, becoming the first African-American woman to lead a police unit on primetime TV.
I'm not looking for a kiss and makeup counselor, but I would like to know what you're going to do next.
Iconic, right? But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Word on the street is that Epatha wasn't afraid to clash with the higher-ups when she felt her character wasn't being respected. She demanded better storylines, more screen time, and respect for her role as a black woman in law enforcement. And let's be real, who else could rock those power suits and that cropped haircut while barking orders like a boss? But oh, the drama. Hollywood has its fair share of haters, and Epatha wasn't immune. There were whispers about salary disputes and behind-the-scenes feuds. One particularly juicy rumor claimed she once walked off set because a director mansplained her character to her. Did she? Didn't she? We may never know. What we do know is that she stayed on Law & Order for nearly 2 decades, earning an NAACP Image Award and the undying love of fans everywhere. And speaking of fans, let's talk about her personal life. Epatha married Toussaint L. Jones, a social worker, in 1994. On the surface, they seem like the perfect power couple. She, a celebrated actress, he, a dedicated social worker. But Hollywood marriages are tricky, and theirs was no exception. They kept their private life, well, private. But insiders say the pressures of fame took a toll. They divorced quietly in 2006, and the details remain a mystery. But stepping into the role of Lola in Come Back Little Sheba,
You said you'd love me forever and ever. Remember,
Epatha Merkerson didn't just drop a hint. She practically handed us the tea. Picture this, a woman known for commanding every room she walks into, typecast as the no-nonsense authority figure, suddenly peeling back the layers to reveal raw, unfiltered vulnerability. And Epatha, she was here for it. She dropped some real parallels, saying, Lola isn't so far from me. I was married and I know what it's like to feel lonely in a marriage. And then came the clincher. I believe she's in menopause, and that alone, hormonally, can send a woman into a tailspin. Throw in an alcoholic husband, and you've got a character who's a decent person, but just stuck. Stuck in her past, stuck in her heartbreak, stuck in the idea of what her life should have been. Scandalous, isn't it? Epatha never had children, but she's godmother to countless young actors she's mentored over the years. Seriously, people in Hollywood call her Mama Epatha. She's also a fierce advocate for children's charities, especially those focusing on education and health. Did you know she once auctioned off her Law & Order wardrobe to raise money for kids? Class act. But let's not sugarcoat things. Our girl has faced her share of challenges.
At a health fair and found out that, I had this type 2 diabetes, from the doctor at a health fair.
Point is I did not know that I was experiencing symptoms, which is unfortunate because it is rampant in my family. My grandmother lost her sight because of complications of diabetes. My father died as a result of diabetes. An uncle who's had multiple amputations. So when the American Diabetes Association asked me to be a part of this program, America's Diabetes Challenge, it was really a no-brainer for me. We have now over 30 million people in this country who have diabetes, and a third of the adults are not at goal. So it was very important for me to become a part of something that I think is grassroots, just educating people on what type 2 diabetes is.
She's been candid about her struggles with smoking, which she quit after losing her close friend to lung cancer. That loss hit her hard, and she became a spokesperson for the American Lung Association. Imagine Epatha standing there, wagging her finger at you like a stern auntie, saying, "Put that cigarette down." You'd listen, wouldn't you? And don't think she's slowing down. Post Law & Order, Epatha has been everywhere, starring in indie films, popping up on TV shows like Chicago Med.
So I held his C-spine until the medics got there, but he wasn't moving.
And even returning to Broadway. Her work in Lackawanna Blues earned her a Tony nomination.
Wall up in between me and mine.
No, what I'm up between is right and wrong.
Let's pause for a moment to appreciate how rare it is for a TV star to dominate both stage and screen. She's in a league of her own. Remember when she called out Hollywood for its lack of diversity? Oh, she didn't mince words. At a glitzy award show, she straight up said, "This industry needs to do better for people who look like me." Some folks clutched their pearls, but most of us were like, "Preach, queen." And don't even get me started on her net worth. She's worth an estimated $12 million, which isn't too shabby for someone who started out waiting tables. But here's the tea. She's notoriously frugal. Rumor has it she still clips coupons and drives a car that's older than some of her fans. So what's she up to today? When she's not acting, she's gardening. Yes, gardening. Apparently, she has a green thumb and grows her own vegetables. Imagine Epatha Merkerson, the legendary actress, in overalls, yelling at a tomato plant to get its act together. A vision, isn't it? And let's not forget her legacy. Epatha Merkerson is more than an actress. She's a trailblazer. She shattered glass ceilings, stood her ground, and carved out a space for Black women in Hollywood. Her influence can be seen in every no-nonsense, badass female character that graces our screens today. She's the original. So there you have it, the life and times of Epatha Merkerson. From her humble beginnings in Detroit to her iconic run on Law & Order and beyond. She's a woman who's faced every challenge head on. She's tough, she's talented, and she's a little bit mysterious, which, let's be honest, makes her even more fabulous. Here's to Epatha Merkerson, actress, advocate, and absolute legend. If she doesn't inspire you, darling, I don't know what will.